So, you want to have a go at building your own watch, but you're not quite sure what parts you need or the tools you need to do it. This is the video for you, and I'm going to show you everything. Watch this video to find out how you can build an amazing watch, just like this one here. And I'm going to tell you the parts you need to buy and what's involved in assembling it yourself. Here is the amazing case that I chose. It came with a strap, and in the description it gave me some sizes and movements that it would fit with. So I chose the Nh38a Movement, which is an automatic movement, and I think it'll fit nicely. Next, you want to get yourself some hands to fit the movement that you've chosen. Grab yourself a couple of sets of hands just in case it doesn't go well when you put them on. Then you've got a backup. Also, pick yourself a dial that you think looks nice. I chose this one. It is sized to suit the movement that I have chosen. Also, get yourself some of these stems for the crown. You have to cut these down, so you want to make sure that you do this correctly, and if you don't, it's good to have a couple of spares because it can be quite tricky. It's hard to measure and takes a little bit of trial and error. This is the movement itself. This is the heart of the watch. This is very important. This is a well-known movement. It's the Nh39. It's very cool, works well. I get it from AliExpress as well as all these parts. I'll put some links in the description so you can check them out and go and search for stuff yourself. What you want to do is type in the movement that you're looking for, and then you can use that as a reference for all the other parts like dials, hands, and of course, cases. Add all the items that you want into your cart, and then use my exclusive discount codes, which will be in the description of this video, to get yourself a great discount off your total cart items. Now, you've got your watch parts, you also want to get some tools. Have a look at these tools here. These are all parts that I've got from the likes of AliExpress. This here is for lubricating the case seal. This is a magnifying glass for seeing what you're doing up close. This is a case opening ball, which you push on and open the case. These are finger condoms, and they help keep the little parts clean. Here's a watch movement holder. I've got a Casio movement there that I've pulled out of another watch. I'm going to see what it looks like in the case later. I'll show you that. You'll need some tweezers for picking up small watch parts. You'll need a case strap tool. So you use this to push out the links in the strap and resize it to fit your hand. Now these are hand presser tools. They all have little holes in them from various sizes so that you can push on the hands starting from the hour hand, minute hand, and then seconds hand if you have one. There's also a helpful tool to remove the hands if you ever get stuck and want to pull them off. You can get dial protectors as well. That helps you from scratching the dial when you're pulling off the hands. What I do is I go back to AliExpress and I type in watch building tools. I search for all of these great items and then also add them to my cart and buy them as well. Now let's take a look at the movement. I chose this movement because I really love how you can see the mechanical workings inside and especially from the front of the watch. The rare case of this watch actually has a window so you can see the workings at the back, but I like to look at them all day, every day from the front as I look at the time. It's quite a simple movement. It doesn't have a date or anything like that. I chose a rose gold case because I think it looks really nice and it'd be unique, and I just really wanted to see what it looked like as a completed watch, so that's why I went for that. Something a little bit different. It's also got good weighting. It feels nice and it will feel like a nice quality watch. I'm quite impressed with the quality of the case itself. The pins that hold on the strap seem a little bit light, but I'll see how they go. Now I got myself some stems for the crown, and then this dial here is what I chose as well. I think the brown would have a good contrast with the rose gold case, but there's heaps of different options in what you can get here. Let's take a look at it on the movement itself. I think it's going to look pretty awesome. If we take a look at the back of the movement, we can see that there's no battery. When you're moving your hand, that little rotor spins around and winds up the watch for you. Here's a Casio movement out of one of my other watches. I just wanted to see if it fitted in this case, and it does. That could be a sick watch, so I might do another one like this later. And that's the beauty about building your own watch. You can mix and match and try your own things, make something unique, give it a go. I really want to encourage you to give something like this a go yourself. I think you will find it really rewarding and a fun project and a fun hobby. If you're getting value from this video, I encourage you to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. And It would help me build my channel and get more videos like this out to you. Now for the build. I get my case ball and I open up the back housing of the case, take that out, and I'm going to put the seal or grease the seal in my seal container. This one here, ready for later. And now we get the movement. What we're going to have to do is fit our dial to the movement. As you can see, there's a couple of pins on the back of the dial. These should fit into holes on the movement itself. Sometimes you have to trim these off, or they might have multiple pins. But lucky for me, there's 2 holes that line up perfectly with this dial. What I'm going to do is line it up and then use a little bit of pressure, not too much, to push down into the correct holes. And then make sure that it's sitting down nice and flush on the movement. I have the movement sitting nice and snugly inside my watch movement holder, and this means I'm not scratching or damaging any of the parts on the back while I work on it. It's also helpful later when you have hands on the watch, because you can turn it over and the hands are protected while you're working on the watch. What does everybody think of the watch so far? I think it looks pretty cool. Now, this is one of the trickiest parts of building your own watch. It's going to take some perseverance, some patience, and you're probably going to damage some hands. But give it a go. You will get there. Now to fit these hands, we're going to start with the hour hand, which is the smallest one, or the short one here. Carefully pick it up with tweezers. You want to make sure that you don't scratch it or get your fingerprints on there, because it can be quite tricky to clean afterwards. So I just line it up very, very gently onto the stem, turn it around, and you really want to set it at midnight or at the top of the watch, and then you can set your minute hand on top of it as well, so everything lines up. This is really important when you're using a watch movement that has a date. These need to be all set at midnight so that the date clicks over as close to midnight as possible. Now I use my hand presser tool with the larger hole to push down on here very gently until the hand is seated nicely. You want to make sure that it's sitting parallel and that it spins all the way around the watch without contacting or scratching the dial. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just winding it around. Now I pull the watch stem out to wind or adjust the time to wind that round. Now that it's sitting at midnight and I know that it's sitting parallel, I can get the minute hand, carefully line it up. A wee tip for this is I put a tiny piece of blue tack on the end of my watch presser tool. That means the hand sticks to it, and I can just maneuver it around a little bit easier without having to use the pliers. Once I line it up, I can use the presser to push down and it clicks onto the stem of the movement. Just check the pressure, make sure it's sitting nice and parallel. Adjust it, make small, minute tweaks until you've got it sitting just right. And then what you want to do is you want to wind it around and make sure that it doesn't contact when it goes all the way around the watch. It's just being a little bit tricky for me here. I haven't pushed it on enough, but I don't want to push too much pressure, because that's when you start bending your hands and damaging them. Also, if you push them on and take them off too many times, you will stretch the hole and you'll have a loose hand which could swing around and not keep proper time. Now that the hands are sitting nicely, I'm going to wind it all the way around, make sure that it does a full revolution and there's no contact points. And everything's sitting parallel and it lines up nicely. I think it's working right. I'm now going to attempt the trickiest one of them all, the seconds hand. If it's going to go wrong, this is where it's going to go wrong. This hand is very, very delicate, easily damaged, easily bent, easily marked. So be careful with this one. Use some patience. I'm using the tweezers here, but it's probably a wee bit risky. You need to turn it over so it's the right way around and it fits into the hole at the top. What can help is putting a little bit of pressure with the hand presser tool, very, very small pressure, and then using some tweezers or something just to help align and get it lined up properly. I've tried this a few different times from this angle. What I find actually easier, and I'm going to do it in a second, is pull the movement up and actually work on an angle. So I'm looking in from the side so you can see and line up the pin a lot easier. If we check this out now, this is what I mean by that. I've also gone back to using my blue tack trick, gently putting the hand on there and then aligning it, looking from the side. I can line up the pin with the hole and gently pop it into place. Here's a helpful close-up so you can see what I mean. Line it up, push it on, and the second hand is in there. Now, there's one downfall from using the blue tack is you sometimes get a little bit of residue on the hands. This isn't very clean, and professional watchmakers will probably be cringing at me for this, but I've got a little bit of IPA alcohol, and I'm just very, very gently with the microfiber cloth going to wipe these hands and just make sure I can get anything off, make them look sharp. This seemed to work okay for me. So at the end of the day, it's my watch. I'm happy with the way it looks. It works for me, and you'll find out what works for you. I just hope that I can encourage you to give something like this a go yourself and find the value that I find in it. When the crown's pushed in, you can actually wind it like I am here, and that's winding the watch manually. So it's manually winding it up, so it's got some spring pressure in there, and the watch will start moving. Just like so. So the hand's going around now. I'm going to check that the second hand makes it all the way around without any contacts. It doesn't get jammed or fall off or anything funny like that. If it makes it all the way around, then I know that I've done a good job and it's working. Look at it go. Isn't that beautiful? It's nearly at the top. It's nearly been a minute. 10, 9, 8. You know what? I think I'm happy with that. What's next? So you got the hands on there. It's all working properly. The next thing to do is grab your case and take out the crown that comes with the case itself. Now you could also get a spare one of these if you wish, because what can happen if you're a bit rough putting it onto the stem, it can bind up or even shear the stem. Once it's sheared, it's very, very difficult to get out. So if it's your first time, it might pay to have a spare crown as well, just in case. I guarantee you, once you've built one watch, you'll want to build more. It's just so fun. So any spare parts will get used in this process again, I'm sure. Now the movements generally come with a temporary crown stem like the one that's blue here. To get it out, what you want to do is push it all the way in, and there's a little lever that pops out, and you press down like I am with these tweezers now, and as soon as that's pressed down, you can push the whole stem out, and that's how you release it. Now that it's out, it's ready to go inside the case, and you can start working on getting your own crown stem modified so that it fits perfectly. Now that you're ready to put it inside the case, you want to do this very carefully so that you don't damage the hands or drop them on anything. I'm thinking about this now. I'm not going to do it this way. I'm actually going to put it down on my watch cushion and then place the case over top like so. And then hold on to it, flip it over until it drops in so that I'm not going to damage anything, and it just fits in there nicely. Now this case itself came with a little plastic retainer. That's just to help align the movement. The movement's obviously a little bit smaller than the hole, and this lines it up. But so far it's all fitted together very, very nicely. I'm really impressed with this. So I push that down. Now it's ready to put the crown stem in. I've decided I'm going to put it in there without the crown on itself and just see how far it sticks out and try and take some measurements so I know how much to trim off. I haven't quite managed how to do this the best way or the most accurate way first time. So what I always end up doing is trimming it down. But trimming a little bit and then a little bit more until I get to the right length. I think if you go too hard, you'll trim off too much. Then you've got a short stem, which is useless. You throw it away. But you can trim it down a couple of times and get that size just right. So you can see it's sticking out now. It's pushed all the way in, so it's working. I've pulled it in and out to check that it's actually engaging properly, and it is. So I use my calipers and just measure the stick out and see how far out it's going out there. You can also measure the crown as well. If you grab the crown, you can see how big it is and how much the spring compresses. This sprung part is so that once you've got the crown in the right position, you can push it in and lock it onto the case and seal it so it's weatherproof. Now that I've got a measurement, I release the pin again, pull it out, and I'm going to mark it and then trim it off, starting with 4mm. So I mark it here. I go and get some side cutter pliers and gently trim the stem down to the right size. Be careful to wear safety glasses so that the little piece that flies out doesn't get you in the eyes. I angle it down so it goes down onto the table when it flies out. Then I use a little bit of sandpaper just to sand off the sharp edge. Now, I'm using some smooth faced pliers here to hold on to the flat part on the end of the stem so that I can actually wind on the crown. I can apply a bit of pressure so that the stem itself doesn't spin, only the crown spins. Now again, be very careful that you don't overdo it because you'll end up shearing the pin if you're not careful. Wind it on all the way home. Once you've got your stem set, you can put some Loctite on there just to make it stay on there forever. So I'm just pushing this in to see. It's still sticking out way too much. So I need to have another go at this. I'm going to take another measurement and just see here how much more to take out, especially when it's pushed in. Yep, still way too much. So I go away and take off another couple of millimeters. I think it was around 6mm total off the end, but this will vary for every watch and every movement and every case. So yeah, you're just going to have to work through this one, but it can be done. That's why you have spares, right? So now that I've got it sized right, I can check it's working and I can screw it into the casing, make sure it goes all the way home. And once it's like that, I'm happy. The next thing to do is turn it over and get the rear housing or the case back on so that we can close up this watch. So spin it over, let's have a look. Make sure that retainer is sitting down nice and snugly. Get the rear case back with the freshly lubricated seal or O-ring. I always gently wind this on with my fingers by hand so that I don't cross thread any of the really small threads on the back of the watch. Once you've got it moving by hand nicely and it's screwing on properly without cross threading, you can get your case opening tool or your ball and wind on the case backing until it's done up nice and tight. You can do some waterproof testing or some pressure testing on the watch to make sure that it's not going to have any air bubbles or leak or let any water in. I don't have that tool, so I'm just going to leave it for now. But there's no reason why this watch shouldn't be waterproof. You've got a O-ring in the back, you have a sealed crown, you have a nice tight fit crystal glass on the front. So it should be waterproof. But there's obviously no guarantees there if you're not testing it and you're doing it yourself. So bear that in mind. Now, the next thing to do is put the strap back on. I took it off to work on the watch. There's a couple of little pins that came with the watch. These seem quite light, but I don't have any other options, so I'm going to put them in and see how they go. They just push out and then obviously push back in to hold the strap in place. I'm pushing them back in now, and I'll use a tool just to push them all the way in. But here we go. Here we have it, a completed watch. Let's take a look at the final result. It certainly looks the part. I am so stoked with this watch. I think it's going to be my new favourite and daily watch. I love looking at the mechanism inside. How good is that? And let's check out the lume in the dark. Nice and bright. Perfect. Now, if you've liked this video or you want to give it a go, then certainly check out my description, links and discount codes. And if you like this video, please like my video. I really appreciate your time for watching. Thank you for choosing to watch my channel. Stay tuned for the next video. See you later, guys.